It's not possible to overstate the power of relationships. We just touched on a few things here.
I always wanted to create a place that I want to work, right? I spent a ton of time there.
Hello, everyone. It's Mandy here with Answer Force, Season 3 of the CNR's Masterclass for Power Skills. And today I have with me Kenny Brewer with JOC Analytics, and I'll hand it over to Kenny to make his introduction.
Hey, Mandy, thanks for having me. Again, my name is Kenny Brewer. I'm the business manager for JOC Analytics. If you're not familiar with what we do, we are a business analytics service that works with the restoration companies to pull all their data from various softwares to really tell a tale of what's going on in their business and give them a lot of insight to what their business is. So we pull from all sorts of softwares, whether it be job management, finance, things like that, and really help them with insights into their operations.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and kind of jump in from there to talk a little bit about power skills. And one thing that I think I would like to kind of move into with you is talking about maybe mentoring and or team building, going into any experiences or anything you'd want to share on that.
With mentoring and team building. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a strong suit of mine, especially like a coaching aspect of it. Um, just so happens that I was a coach for 5 years, coached girls varsity basketball. So I guess you could say I'm familiar with it. But also my background is, in the military. I went to the military academy. Most of my roles have been one in which I can help mentor and coach people by way of leadership roles, right? Um, so, some of those experiences that I've had, I've really been focused on that. And again, coaching girls varsity basketball from a program that had really never won, and to a program that went to multiple Final Four championships. So things like that. But yeah, I have quite a bit of experience coaching, and I really just love the aspect of being able to help somebody take what they already have and help them mold that and discover it and to develop that into something that really helps them thrive as an individual, as a player, as a employee, things like that. So definitely one of my, I guess, power skills or soft skills.
A little bit of both. Well, it's pretty much the same thing, and that's really awesome, Kenny. So kind of to dabble into that a little bit more, in this industry where employment is something that we tend to see is a finicky subject, right? When we start talking about employee retention and being able to work with them, and know-how does a really great job at pointing out where a lot of those key points are, and one of them is what you're talking about. It's the ability to coach and mentor. There's so much that goes into being able to do that, and it is a skill set. And I kind of want to dabble into it. What would you say if, to a restorer who is, has a newly found team and they're trying to figure out how to take their not so winning team to becoming a winning team? What are some of the keys and the tips and tricks that you would say helped you along your journey?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So I'm currently in that same predicament, right? I don't want to say predicament, but I'm in the same situation where we are building a team that is really starting from a limited number of people to something that's going to be, in my eyes, very successful in helping, the restoration industry succeed, right? So, and again, like I mentioned earlier, kind of done this before when it comes to coaching girls basketball and in other businesses that I've worked for. But um, one thing that I think would really benefit people is just to understand and build a team that is building a culture, right? So if you have, you know, your vision and your morals and those things that you want to build your team off of, and you know those things are right, finding people that fit that vision and that focus that you have on how you want your team to be built and how you want them to thrive and the drive that you want them to have. So selecting those people that you feel would fit that bill, and then really understanding what it is that they thrive on, right? Understanding who they are, because you're going to get a team that's just really a mixed bag of people, right? You're going to get the all-star who is just knocking it out of the park all the time and doesn't really ever need to be talked to, and you're going to get the person that kind of wants to be that type of person but doesn't know how to pull those skill sets out. And you have the person that just wants to be a good worker, and you know, and that's a great, you know, that's great as well. And so finding exactly what that person wants and what that person needs, and then pulling that all together to make one cohesive team is kind of a formula for success, right? So understanding who you're talking to, what drives them, how you can pull those things out of your own company to give to them, whether that's mentoring them on an individual level, whether that's putting them in front of classes, you know, whether that's teaming them up with somebody who really complements their skill sets and who they are. You know, I think people is a huge focus, and understanding people really helps to build a strong team.
That's really awesome. So what I'm hearing is communication is key, right? Like being able to listen, learn, communicate with those team members to find out what it is that their strengths and or weaknesses are, and then apply them or move them to whichever role accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you know, it kind of starts in the interview process sometimes, or if you step into a role and understanding, you know, and researching what that person needs. But really, when you're hiring somebody, I think that really applies, because you start that search then and then apply them to the role that, you know, maybe you interview a great person, but they don't really fit that role. We just hired somebody who that kind of fit the bill on, right? He's an amazing person, has great results. The role we were hiring for didn't really fit that skill set that that person had per se. So we found a role for him that made perfect sense. And because he's the type of person that we want, maybe at the wrong time, which is never a wrong time if you have the right person, right? But we put that person in that position to help build this team because we knew it was going to be important for them to be part of what we're trying to build.
That's a huge part of leadership. Like literally everything that you're saying is being able to figure out who your players are. And let's just say they are not a direct report to you, or you're not interviewing, but you do recognize, let's say, a team member that may be interested in you mentoring them. How do you think that would, how do you think you would move about that way if it's not somebody that's direct and they need a little bit of coaching, need a little bit of mentoring?
Yeah, I think that's easy. I mean, I guess depending on personality, I think that's easy, right? My personality, I'm a player's coach, right? If for anybody who watches sports, like I really cater to my players and try to understand what they want, like I said earlier, what drives them, who they are, and really start to get along with them and figure out what, you know, how to motivate them. But also just buying in, right? So if it's somebody that's not directly working for you, or maybe not even in your company, but even just in your industry, right? And they are looking for some type of leadership or guidance. I feel like it's just natural for me personally to team up with that person and just impart that knowledge, right? Whatever knowledge you might have. So again, I think it's very easy for me to just step in and say, hey, yeah, be motivated, right? Be motivated to share that stuff with them, excited to share that stuff with them. Because one, it's somebody who wants that knowledge, right? So that should make it all more easy to interact with that person and help them because first of all, they're asking for help. So that should make it easy. And then just be excited, right? If you buy into the program, the company, the industry, and where you want that stuff to go, then it should be a no-brainer to take somebody else that wants to buy in and make everything stronger, right? Again, make the industry stronger, make your company stronger, make your team stronger. So you should want to do that, and you should thrive off of the fact that somebody has asked you for help, and really love that and take that in and help that person as much as you can.
And I mean, that is definitely key. Being a part of like the RIA is always talking, working towards mentorship type opportunities for restorers and being able to get them more involved, and as well as get them the education and or the coaching that is needed to help them grow and scale their business, but as well to be able to lead their teams. And that seems like it's kind of what it is we've been talking about, the last 10 minutes or so, is how to effectively lead, right? Like lead, coach a team, mentor a team, get them from a place where, in JOC's case, where it's a newer team building a team, to one that is sturdy, getting to where you are going to be thriving and scaling. And coaching goes near and dear, at least when I think about it on my end as well, because, well, I say coaching, but I really mean mentoring, because you have to pour into people, especially if they're asking, right? Being able to listen, pour into them, um, find out what it is that they're wanting to do, and be excited for them in whatever it is that they're going for, and help to give them kind of that guidance, that foresight, that you may have from the experience that you have. So I don't want to take up more time talking, as this is definitely information that I want for you to be able to share. As far as what do you think your number one power skill is?
Um, I mean, we've been talking about it, right? I think my number one power skill is coaching with a emphasis in team building. I like to see how you can put a team together that can just really thrive and make it from, maybe something that, again, I'm just referring back to coaching a lot of times, but this applies to anything, right? A team or a sector that somebody thinks may not, have much success, and then turning that around and seeing where that goes and building that team to be highly successful, right? I mean, I saw it in the Army. I see it in coaching. I see it in my everyday business today. That really kind of motivates me and helps me helps me use my skills, or what I think are my skill sets, to develop that team and see them thrive. So it's something I've always been around, ever since I've played sports all my life. Anybody who's seen me at a show, obviously I'm probably stand out quite a bit, being 6'7", but
Little.
so I played a little bit of basketball in my life, and so it's something, teamwork and team building, that's been a part of my life always. So I think that skill comes relatively easy to me.
All right, so I'm going to finish this up with one last question for you. For someone that isn't their skill set, that isn't their power skill, coaching, team building, but it is something that they want to be able to include in their wheelhouse, what is your recommendation on being able to build that?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. So you have to engage, right? The only way we learn a lot of times is by doing. Um, I mean, I'll use myself coming to JOC as an example, and actually the person we just hired. But my first interaction with this industry was 2 weeks before I was actually hired, thrown into a trade show and just meeting people and getting out there and talking to people. Not my comfort zone at all. Um, and but I learned a lot, right? And if you just commit to being coachable, it will help you to coach, right? So a lot of times you're not going to be a good coach if you are not coachable. So again, just going back to sports because that's my happy place. That's where I'm comfortable. Um, you absolutely have to go through those years where somebody's coaching you. You have, you're taking that information all in, and then you're figuring out how to apply it, and then you're just turning around and imparting that knowledge on somebody else, right? So you really have to just take that all in, commit to understanding what's being asked of you, what's being told for you to do. Weed out the bad stuff, take in the good stuff, and then just turn around and impart that positive knowledge that you've gained. And you're going to mess up along the way, right? As a coach, as a player, you're going to mess up 100%. There's no avoiding it. And then learning from those mistakes and then continuing to, coach down the road the next people and the next people and the next teams. Having learned from all of those experiences, all of those mistakes. But you just really have to put yourself out there to do that, right? If you just sit there and just take it all in and take it all in, that's great. You're going to be probably a really good employee, really good asset to whoever you're working with. But if you want to step into that coaching sector where you're really helping people, then you have to put yourself out there to do so. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that answer. A really, really good question.
Well, thank you, Kenny, so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. Do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Um, no, I guess anybody who is watching this and runs into me at a show, because I'm trying to be at all of them that I possibly can. If you have any questions about this, I'd love to talk to new people and meet you and see what your thoughts are. So find me. I'm hard to miss, and I'd love to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much, Kenny, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.